The biggest lie you have been told is that your fear is real. Not that something frightening never happened to you. It did. But the fear you carry right now, the anxiety that shapes your choices, the dread that follows you into new situations, most of it is not yours. Your brain is not protecting you. It is hijacking you. Right now, without your permission, a hidden bias is distorting your perception of reality. And the most dangerous part is this. It feels completely natural, feels like instinct, feels like wisdom. It is called the availability heuristic, and it controls far more of your life than you have ever been told. Think about the last time you felt genuinely afraid. Not a small worry, real fear, the kind that changed a decision, the kind that made you avoid something, cancel something, pull back from someone. Where did that fear come from? You might say experience. You might say intuition. But if you trace it back, really trace it, you will find something else. A memory, a story, something vivid, something emotional, something you encountered again and again until your brain decided it was the truth about the world. And here is the disturbing part. That memory does not have to be accurate. It does not have to reflect reality. It just has to be available. Your mind does not measure risk the way a statistician does. It does not calculate probability. It asks one question: how easily does an example of this danger come to mind? The more vivid the memory, the more recently you encountered it, the more times it was repeated, the more dangerous your brain decides the world is. Not because the data supports it, because the memory is loud. You are afraid of flying. You have seen the crash reports. You have watched the footage. Your brain has filed those images as high availability, meaning the moment you think about boarding a plane, your threat system activates. It says danger. It says statistically unlikely does not matter. I have seen this before. But you get in a car every day. You do not think twice, because car accidents, despite being 40 times more deadly than plane travel, are so common that your brain has stopped marking them as exceptional. They are not vivid. They are not dramatic. They are not high availability. Do you see the distortion? Your brain is not measuring risk. It is measuring memorability. And someone figured this out a long time ago. Someone decided to use it. Every breaking news alert is engineered for vividness. Every crime story that leads the bulletin was chosen because it is extreme, emotional, and repeatable. Not because it represents your actual risk environment, because it creates availability. When you watch a news channel for 2 hours a day, your brain's threat map rewrites itself. You start believing the world is more dangerous than it is. You become more fearful, more reactive, more controllable. A 2019 study found exactly this. People with high news consumption rated their personal risk from crime, disease, and disaster as dramatically higher than people with lower consumption, even when their actual environment had not changed at all. The news did not inform them. It distorted them. It took the availability heuristic, a natural feature of the human brain, and used it as a weapon. Media is not the only vector. Politicians use it. Advertisers use it. And sometimes, the people closest to you use it without even knowing they are doing it. When someone tells you the same story about their ex-partner again and again, the story of betrayal, of abandonment, of heartbreak, your brain starts filing that pattern as highly available. Relationships become dangerous in your threat model, not because your experience confirms it, because someone else's repeated narrative seeded it. This is why you sometimes find yourself afraid of things you have never personally experienced. You have been exposed to the story enough times that your brain treats it as memory. In 1973, psychologists Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman published findings that would eventually win a Nobel Prize. They called it the availability heuristic. The discovery was simple and devastating. Humans do not calculate probability. We estimate it based on ease of recall. If we can imagine an example quickly, we assume it is common. If we struggle to think of one, we assume it is rare. This was an elegant survival mechanism. 100,000 years ago, a vivid memory of a predator near a water source was your best guide to avoiding it. The brain that stored the most alarming memories most accessibly, that brain survived. But you are not in a prehistoric environment. You are in an information environment. And in an information environment, vividness is manufactured. Repetition is manufactured. The most alarming examples are selected and amplified, not because they are most representative, but because they are most engaging. The mechanism that kept your ancestors alive is now the mechanism being used to keep you afraid. Here is the deeper layer. The availability heuristic does not just affect what you fear in the abstract. It shapes the most personal parts of your psychology. If you were rejected in a relationship and that rejection was painful enough, your brain files that experience as high availability. Every subsequent connection carries the imprint of that moment. You are not being cautious. You are not being wise. You are being governed by a memory that your brain has marked as the most relevant data for assessing this situation. If you were raised in an environment where scarcity was vivid and constant, your brain may file poverty as highly available long after your circumstances have changed. The fear of not having enough persists not because your current reality supports it, but because the memory is louder than the present. Trauma does not just hurt. Trauma rewrites your risk map. It updates your availability index. It makes the world look and feel more dangerous than it actually is, and it does this permanently, unless you deliberately intervene. And this is where the deepest manipulation happens, because a brain governed by fear-saturated availability heuristics is a brain that is easier to control. It seeks safety over freedom. It accepts restrictions in exchange for reduced threat perception. It trusts whoever promises to make the danger go away. This is not conspiracy. This is documented behavioral psychology. Fear makes humans more compliant, more tribal, more susceptible to authority. The availability heuristic is the lever. Vivid, repeated, emotionally saturated content is the force applied to that lever. You are not the audience. You are the product. Your fear is the commodity. But here is what changes when you understand this. When you know the mechanism, you can audit it, not eliminate it. The availability heuristic is hardwired. You cannot remove it, but you can learn to interrogate it. You can learn to ask the questions your brain does not automatically ask. The first step is source interrogation. When a fear arises, trace it. Where did this information come from? Did I personally experience this? Or did I encounter it through media, through a story, through someone else's repeated narrative? If the source is external and emotionally amplified, your fear response is likely disproportionate to actual risk. This is not about dismissing your emotions. It is about understanding their origin. The second step is statistical recalibration. Put the fear next to the data. Your brain will resist this. System 1 hates being overridden by System 2. But the numbers matter. The actual probability of the threat. The actual frequency of the outcome. When you place vivid fear alongside cold statistics, the statistics do something remarkable. They give you a reference point outside the distortion. You cannot undo availability with willpower, but you can introduce competing data that slowly recalibrates the threat model. The third step is deliberate counterexposure. The availability heuristic is built on what your brain encounters most, which means you can engineer what it encounters. You can deliberately consume evidence of safety, evidence of connection, evidence of positive outcomes in the areas where your threat model is most distorted. This is not naive optimism. This is cognitive engineering. You are selecting the inputs that your brain will use to assess risk. You are choosing deliberately what gets high availability status in your mind. This is the practice the top 1% use. Not fearlessness. Fearlessness is not a real psychological state. It is a performance. Not ignorance of risk, but calibrated perception. The intentional management of what their threat system is trained on. Before the final insight, if this video has already identified something in your own psychology, drop a comment below. Tell me where you first noticed this pattern in your life. The moment of recognition is where change begins, and your comment helps this content reach the people who need it most. The final and most powerful truth: your fear is not a personality trait. It is not who you are. It is not a permanent feature of your psychology. It is a data problem. Your brain's availability index has been populated with low-quality, emotionally amplified, strategically repeated inputs, and it has used that data to construct a model of the world that feels true but is systematically distorted. Change the data, and you change the fear. Media literacy is not just an intellectual exercise. It is psychological self-defense. Understanding that the availability heuristic can be manipulated means you have the power to protect the inputs that shape your threat perception. You can choose what news you consume and how much. You can choose what stories you let repeat in your mind. You can choose whose narratives you absorb as your own. You can choose which memories you rehearse and which ones you allow to lose their vividness. Every one of those choices is a calibration of your own fear map. The world is not as dangerous as your brain has been trained to believe. Your past pain is real. Your trauma is real. The experiences that seeded your fear were real. But the generalized threat perception that attached itself to everything after, the story your brain built about the entire category, that is a pattern, not a sentence, a habit of threat assessment, not an objective truth. You were not born afraid. You were trained to be, and everything that was trained can be untrained. The availability heuristic will always be part of how you think. Your brain will always use ease of recall to estimate risk. That is not going away. But the question that separates the people who live in manufactured fear from the ones who have decoded it, is simple. Who is choosing what gets remembered? Who is deciding what stays vivid? Is it you, or is it them? Now that you know what the availability heuristic in fear actually is, and how deliberately it is used against you, what are you going to do about it?